Well, good evening, all. Thank you for landing on this page, which is Let's Talk News. I'm your host, Leticia Remauro, and we're going to do it again. Um, we have a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about the political parties, the Democrats, the Republicans, and yes, the Socialists, because there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes um, in some parties, and basically nothing going on behind the scenes in the Republican Party. So it boggles my mind. I volunteered to make phone calls for Matt Van Epps in Tennessee, and I do that often. I called for Trump. I called for other Congress members, Russell Fry, and nowadays, when you're doing phone banking or calls or things like that. In the old days, we used to door knock, or we'd have to go to a place, and there'd be 1,000 phones. But now they have this app, and you just download it to your phone and you dial, and when it just automatically dials a number. It tells you the name of the people living in the house, and you talk. They give you a script, and you talk when they answer, and if not, you give feedback. And it's really a great little app. And I know Angela Ricca has used this in the past. But that was kind of all that was going on with Van Epps. I didn't see a lot going on, and that concerns me greatly. Hello, Mama. Good to have you. Hi, Francine. Hi, Angela Ricca. There you are. Yes, Angela knows all about these apps because she uses them. Hello, Gloria. Good to have you all on this. It's not yet Thanksgiving Eve. That'll be tomorrow. What was it? Numenar? I think it was. Yeah. Hey, hold on a second. I'll look. Hold on. I got it right here. I got it right here somewhere. I've got now 1,000 emails in between, and I can't remember. Pulsar. It's called Pulsar. And it's a great little app. And so I'll be calling through the weekend. I might drive up to Tennessee. I might. We'll see. But if you can volunteer, go to Van Epps' website and just sign up, and they'll send you everything. Hello, Maisie. Are we looking at the end of the Ukraine war finally? It looks like. Pushy. I'm a little pushy. Yes, I am. That means you got the right place. Thank you, Vamal Rajwar. Yeah, apparently it's a new one. But let's get back to this question from BJ. I think we are looking at the end of this conflict. I don't know that it will ever be settled so long as Putin lives. I think that he wants a unified Russia, and the people of Ukraine want to stay out of Russia. But I think for now, yes, because it just makes sense for everybody. As I said yesterday, Putin's arsenal is depleted at this point in time, and Trump making deals with Xi, Putin doesn't know who his friends are, right? Since Trump blew up everything in Iran, so they can't feed into Russia anymore. And Trump kind of stopped Europe from buying oil from Russia. And he's, pummeling Venezuela, who is Russia's friend. So, I mean, listen, he is a very smart commander in chief. And the fact that the seditious six, we're trying to undermine him now at a time when he is showing strength and prowess, and FAFO. Shame on them. Just shame on them. I mean, they need Kelly needs to be brought up and have a talking to. Absolutely. But anything else you guys want to talk about that I'm not covering? And what I thought I would cover, because of this Van Epps thing, was what's going on with the Democrat Party, with the Socialist Party, how we got to the position we're in right now, which is pretty big. Hi, Andrew Dorman. And I'm going to try and do it all in a half an hour. How about the clown Mark Kelly posting a picture of himself in his captain's uniform with his medals, all out of order? I love that Pete Hegseth said he will conduct a uniform inspection if he gets recalled to face a court martial. Absolutely. Here's the thing that Kelly is forgetting. Yeah, he served dignified and with honor until you don't, right? You make a bad decision, and that bad decision follows you your whole life. I mean, listen, the devil was once an angel, and now he's not. So don't try to point to your history when you do something, when you undertake a seditious act to undermine the military and the president of the United States. You can't then go, oh, look, I served. Yeah, you served, but now you are going against your oath. You are, the one thing that they all forget is Trump is the president, whether they want him to be or not. He's the president. None of us wanted Joe Biden to be the president. Even the people that voted for him didn't want him to be president when they saw that he had lost his marbles, or at least was, suffering with dementia. But nobody undermined him. Nobody questioned his authority as commander in chief. On the contrary, we all were terrified that he was the commander in chief. And we looked to our military and understood that if he gave a cockamamie order, the military would understand not to follow an unlawful order. But somehow or another, Mark Kelly seems to think, and the other five, Flossum five, seem to think that our military aren't smart enough to understand that they don't have to follow an unlawful order, even though they're told constantly about it. Hi. I don't know if that's a cry for attention, Maisie, or if you missed an H. Hi, Lucille Chavone. Good to have you. Hello, Latoya Mason. Good to have you. Okay, so unless anybody wants to bring something else up, let's talk a little bit about party politics. Okay. Wait, hold on. Can you name me one good thing the Democratic Party has done for this country since Trump was elected? Huh. That's good. That's a good question. It's a good question. Hello, Colleen Mahoney. I'm going to have to think about that because nothing is coming to mind. I thought it was kind of cool that we had the first Black female vice president. I thought that was kind of interesting until she opened her mouth. Oh, okay. Panda in Paris. Stinky poo poo. Okay. Well, it's good that, we have Romper Room joining us. Thank you. I can't. That was one of the things that I thought was really, that was good. Beyond that, I can't tell you that I can think of anything else. But I will credit that because I think that threshold was good. I like breaking barriers. I don't like when, when the rest of the world is doing stuff and we're not. But I've always said, I don't vote for people because of the color of their skin or their religion or their ethnicity. I vote for the person. And as a Republican and a Republican political leader, I sometimes, even though my own party was running a Republican, I voted for a Democrat or somebody else because I didn't think that the person that they were running was able to do the job. So would I like to see a female president sometime? Sure, I would. Do I think that there are plenty of people out there that can do the job? Absolutely. Have we seen one yet? No. And that's unfortunate. Kamala could not speak in English. It was embarrassing watching her. That's true. But up until when she was, I mean, she did pretty good when she was running in the Democrat primary. Not in being able to get people over, but she was saying some interesting things, and she spoke much better back then. I think that she was probably more sober back then. But yeah, I was happy to see that we broke that barrier, but it just was a disappointment, and I think it set us back. I am hoping for a Vance Rubio ticket in 28. Leticia, your take. 100%. I will tell you something, and you're not going to like it. I like Marco Rubio better than I like Vance for the position. However, for the position of president, I would like it to be Rubio Vance. I think he's way smarter, way more polished, way more experienced than Vance. Having said that, this party still votes. This country still votes on looks and charisma, and Vance has that. So either way is fine. Tulsi Gabbard destroyed Kamala. She did. She did. She did. She did, but could you tell from the Democrat primaries that Kamala Harris was going to be the disaster she wound up being? I don't know. Yeah, I like Rubio a lot. He's got it all. He really does have it all. But the problem with Rubio, and I hate to say this, but it's true, he's short, and it gives a bad visual. And still to this day. People vote that way. Leticia for president. Yeah. I'll tell you what, I'd do it. I would do it. I wanted to do it when I was a kid, and I would do it. I know I'd never see my family again. Only thing is that they probably would hate me worse than they hate Trump. I don't have the name recognition, and for any of the good things I've ever done, so I don't think that's a possibility. I am guessing the Democrats will likely go with Newsom and Pritzker. I don't know about that. I think the Democrats are still, the Democrats, if you notice, like all the Democrats are calling for them to get rid of this woke liberal stuff, and Newsom and Pritzker are have fully embraced that, and so is AOC and Bernie Sanders. So I don't know. I'm thinking that what's her name, the Michigan governor. What's her name? Maher. You know who I'm talking about. I'm thinking she's going to wind up being the one. Democrats did nothing for us. They catered to illegal migrants only. You're right about that. I mean, they didn't even fix the immigration system when they could, right? They didn't do that. They didn't fix Obamacare when they could. They put the sunset on it, by the way, for this year and this month. So they didn't fix that. They didn't do anything about the price of rent or anything. They didn't do anything about crime. More babies were killed when the Democrats were in office than ever before. I can't think of a thing. Leticia, I agree with you about Rubio. Yeah, it's just that Whitmore. That's the one. Thank you. Jeez, thank you. Yes, Gretchen. Yes, yes. Okay. But I think that she might be the one, because it would be great for them to lead off with a woman, because the thing is that their party is now becoming heavily woman, heavily, and it all matters about what we can do. I mean, so let's take a look here. Let's look at the demographics a little bit of let's look at this. Independence, okay? Independent. Approximately 41 to 49% of Americans identify as independent. Majority of independents lean towards a party. A large portion of those who identify as independent still lean towards either the Republican or Democrat Party, with a smaller percentage not leaning toward either one. Increasing trend, the number of voters who identify as independent has grown significantly over the past 2 decades. This is sometimes attributed to dissatisfaction with the major parties. So the independent, the people who consider themselves independent, who will cross party lines, who will read and think about the candidate and not just vote the party line, it's a good majority of people who identify that way. They could lean one way or another, but a good majority of the people identify that way. I wonder if any of you consider yourselves independents. Isn't she the one that hit her face with the book? Yeah, she's the one that hit her face with the book. Yep. You know what? But she's the more moderate of them. I mean, it could be Fetterman, but I don't know. I mean, it could be. They were holding him up as a god, before he showed him his common sense. So who knows? All right. So does anybody here consider themselves an independent? So here's what's going on with the Republicans. All right. Far right Republican. Approximately 7 to 11% of all Americans identify as far right or very conservative. Very conservative Republicans, 24% of those who identify as Republican or lean Republican describe themselves as very conservative. Conservative Republicans, 53% identify simply as conservative. Moderate liberal Republicans, 18% identified as moderate and 4% as liberal. So the summary is the percentage of Americans who specifically identify with the Republican Party and also describe themselves using the most extreme terms, far right or very conservatives, is relatively small. But it is a significant and growing portion of the overall Republican coalition. So that's interesting, right? That the very far right leaning, I guess those would be considered the libertarian or the Christian coalition or the America First and no dollars spent anywhere else kind of group. So the conservatives, Republicans are becoming more conservative, but they're not becoming more far right. So let's talk about the Democrats. Socialist Democrat. Apparently, 2/3 of the Democrats identify as a socialist Democrat, according to recent polls. While a majority of Democrats hold a positive view of socialism, this figure is lower for the general population, with one poll showing 39% of all Americans having a positive view of socialism compared to 54% who favor capitalism. Okay, so let's get this clear. 2/3 of Democrats identify as socialists, but with Americans, only 39% of all Americans, that's Republicans, that's independents, that's everyone. Only 39% of all Americans have a positive view of socialism. Majority of Democrats, multiple recent polls indicate that around 2/3 of Democrats have a positive view of socialism. I'm sorry, I said that already. Younger Americans' support for socialism is higher among younger age groups, with a 2018 Gallup poll finding 51% of Americans aged 18 to 29 had a positive view of socialism. So that was 7 years ago, that poll, okay? But 51% 7 years ago thought that socialism was a good idea. And overall, you have 2/3 of Democrats, that's over 60%, 66%, thinking socialism works. So when we talk about the far right and the far left, 7% of Republicans consider themselves, let's give it the high side, 11, far right or very conservative, 11%, compared to 66% like socialism. So that would be far left, right? Okay, let's see. Shapiro. Yes, Shapiro. But the problem is, I just read to you that 66% of the Democrats think socialism is good. How many of them do you believe are anti-Zionist? And especially after what's going on now, do you really think that now's the time that America will elect a Jewish president? Not on the Democrat ticket. I can't see it. I can't see him passing the primaries. I just can't. I mean, am I wrong? I don't think 3 years can make a lot of difference, but I don't know. Leticia, what is your take on Steve Witkoff? I love him. I think that he's very, very good at what he does. But did something happen that I missed? I know Trump said he wasn't going to send him back into Russia to negotiate anymore. The media has created far right for the right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Right. Trump was funny when he met Mamdani. You could tell in a way he was actually mocking him. Yes, he was, and also he was playing to the youth. Because he knows how important the youth is. I just hear Erica Kirk say that she and CPUSA will be backing J.D. Vance in 28. Well, that makes sense. I mean, look, Trump hasn't endorsed anybody, but he's been pushing that Vance Rubio ticket. So, but let's see. We got 3 years. Lots gonna happen. Every 18-year-old should have mandatory service in a socialist communist country for 2 years, then come back and go to college. These kids have no clue. They should see it firsthand. That's good, Maisie. But we're not an authoritarian government, right? We can't mandate it. But you know who can be an authoritarian to these kids? Their parents. Their parents can act like a fascist dictator to these kids, and because they're the ones that feed them and they're the ones that bring them up. And so I'm so tired of these parents who tell me, oh, my kid won't talk to me unless I vote Democrat. They hate Trump so much. Too bad. That kid is a kid. You're the one who has the experience. Stop letting your kids raise you. Stop trying to be your kid's best friend. Start trying to teach your kid what being an adult is like, because right now we have a bunch of big babies, and I'm going to show you one right now. Watch this one.
Are you okay? Sorry, that was completely unnecessary. We just need to see this is our office. You should not be ashamed. We are just living this. That is unreasonable. Y'all should be ashamed.
That sobbing girl pretending to be crying, her name is Afton Bin, and she is now in the Tennessee State House, and she's running for Congress against Van Epps. I say pretending to cry because how many of you know anybody that cries that way? They were up to protest something, and they walked into a congressional office, and they were physically removed, and that was their response. So that's not all. Apparently, she doesn't like to answer questions either.
In 2020, you made some tweets that have since been deleted that were very critical of police. You said in those since deleted tweets that the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department should be dissolved. Another cheered on a teachers union saying that defund the police should be a requirement for schools reopening. And another saying good morning, especially to the 54% of Americans that believe burning down a police station is justified. 2020 was obviously a very fraught year. Do you still stand by those comments? And if not, is there anything you want to clarify?
I'm not going to engage in cable news talking points, but what I will say is that, our communities need solutions. We need local people deciding, solving local problems with local solutions. And that's not the overreach of a federal government or state government of which we are dealing with in Nashville and our cities across the state of Tennessee.
So you don't want to clarify whether you still believe that the police should be defunded?
Once again, I don't remember these tweets, but what I'm saying is that
I'm not asking you if you remember. What is your position today? How's that on this issue?
I mean, I'm here to talk about my race, which is in literally 9 days, and talking about affordability, which seems to be the #1 issue across the district.
She can't answer a question. She's running for office, but she's not going to answer a question. She reminds me very much of Mamdani because she's not going to answer the question that's asked. She's going to tell you what she wants you to hear. What have you been called, Maisie, a crybaby? I can't imagine. She got what she deserved. Yes, she did. And that was, like I said, that was years ago. But she's now in the Tennessee State House, and she represents Nashville. And Nashville was recently drawn into Tennessee 7. And there are a lot of people that believe that she could take this seat if we don't work hard. And that means everybody has to work hard. We have to get Van Epps elected. Because if we lose, and we've got now Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's leaving, and we can't afford all these seats gone. We have to we have to change the tide from the November elections, and we have to remind everybody why they voted for Trump, because he's not on the ballot in the midterms, and he can't be everywhere. He's got to concentrate on what he has to do to make things more affordable, and that seems to be the number one issue right now. She's the loser that said she hates Nashville and everything in it. How could anyone vote for her? Well, the kids don't, the young people who live in Nashville, as we were talking about the Rubio and Vance situation, right? Rubio is far more qualified, far more experienced, far more intelligent than Vance, but Vance has the charisma, and that's who people are going to gravitate to. And that's why Vance has to be at the front of the ticket and Rubio will be in the back. Greta clone, yes. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. I guess the resume you need to be a Democrat today is to be a radical woke nut job. 66%, BJ, 66% say they identify more with socialism than anything else. That's what Mamdani said. He wanted a socialist world, one world and one world government, socialism. Typical politician not answering anything. Yep. She's a pure communist. She is. I've been called a dictator. Oh, by my kids. I was going to say, I can't imagine you a crybaby. You're too tough. Follow-up question asked about defunding the police, not about burning down a police station being justified. Yeah. And good to have you here, Janice, because I think we need the Convention of States needs to go hang out with Trump. We have to have a midterm election, and they've got to be front and center. I think it's important. Okay, so listen, we're running late, and I want to show you this. All right, listen to Mamdani in this interview. I want you to listen to him closely.
Your surprise victory has some progressive Democrats saying, boy, you may have determined the model for the Democratic Party nationally in this moment. Do you think your campaign represents the playbook for how to win in the Trump era for Democrats?
I think it showcases a new approach to politics in our city, and it's for others to decide across our country. Ultimately, what we wanted to do from the very beginning of this race was change our political instinct from lecturing to listening. And after the presidential election, where we saw New York be the state in the nation with the largest swing towards Donald Trump, 11.5 points, and we saw that swing took place far from the caricatures of Trump voters, I went to those hearts of immigrant New York City that were the fulcrum of those swings. Hillside Avenue in Queens, Fordham Road in the Bronx. And I asked Democrats, who did you vote for and why? And I heard from them again and again, I voted for Donald Trump because I could afford things that are now out of my reach today. And ultimately, when I asked them what would it take to bring you back to the Democratic Party, they said a relentless focus on an economic agenda. And that's the campaign that we built.
Okay, so did you hear what he said? He went to Trump voters and asked them what they wanted. The one thing that we know in politics is that if you touch a voter, they are 10 times more likely to vote for you than for somebody else. What I think is the mistake that was made in the New York City election for mayor, and that's being made now in Tennessee 7, is that voters who are likely to vote for Cuomo, I'm not going to say Curtis, because Curtis touched a lot of people, but you can't expect people who will not vote for a Republican to suddenly become frightened and run to the Democrat. I mean, run to a Republican because they're frightened of the socialists. They'll just stay home, and they didn't stay home. In the New York City mayor's race, they went for Cuomo. The rank and file Democrats went for Cuomo. Mamdani found others. He found blanks. He found Republicans. He found a plethora of people that all said, I want free stuff. Things are too hard. I'm going to send a message and I'm going to vote for Mamdani. What's going on in Tennessee 7 is Ashton Bin is being talked about so much. She's getting all of this earned media, and we haven't heard shit about Van Epps. Nothing, not a word. And the media, to some extent, because they can't believe that somebody so inept and incompetent and ignorant could be the next congressperson, they're pushing. They're putting her name out there and, in essence, touching people, where Van Epps is going to have to pay for every voter contact that he gets. That's terrible. I want every Republican Congress member, everybody who makes the rounds on Fox, on the news, to be out there this weekend pulling votes for Van Epps. That's what I want. That's what I would do if I was Johnson. That's what I would do if I was the Republican chairman, for the RNC. That's what I would be doing. But that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because, and I'm going to show you why it's not going to happen in a second. But unfortunately, our Republicans, once they get to Washington, a lot of them become all about Washington. Happy Thanksgiving, Leticia, to you and your family, and also to everyone on here. Thank you, BJ. Same to you. Cuomo was a groper. I think groper, going back years, unelectable. Yeah, I don't think so, John. Cuomo was Italian. That's what he was. And that's what he is. And, women just, they use that to get rid of him.
Back in 2016, we put out a...
Sorry, I should tell you what this is. So this is Justice Democrats. They are, let me just show you. They run people for office. Oh, I can't show you that way. I have to share my screen if I want to show you. Hold on. Share screen. They run people for office, and they were responsible for electing these members of Congress. Look, Ro Khanna, Delia Ramirez, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Summer Lee, Greg Cesar, Pramila Jayapal. Okay, so that's a group, an organized group of people who went out and got people to run for office. And listen, this is a short clip about how they wound up with Ocasio-Cortez, AOC.
Back in 2016, we put out a call for nominations, trying to capture the diversity of background, of experience of the American electorate, the people that aren't currently represented in office. We got over 10,000 nominations. Out of those 10,000 nominations, we found Alexandria.
My brother told me that he had sent my nomination in the summer, but I was like literally working out of a restaurant, and I was like, there's no way.
Her profile is not what you'd think of as someone who should run for office, right?
I remember that evening on Election Day in November. I was really disappointed and really sad, but I was not shocked.
So Izzy, one of the people that was working with us at the time, called, and it was scheduled for 20, 30 minutes, and it went maybe an hour and a half.
Like, well, would you be open entering this kind of nomination process? And I was like, sure. There were so many other amazing candidates. The entire time I didn't think I was gonna be picked. In my brain, I was like, this isn't gonna happen, until Izzy called, and she was like, hey, do you wanna go to Kentucky in 2 weeks?
What happened was just magic. All these people from all over the country, incredible community leaders, talking about similar problems they all face, talking to each other, engaging, pumping each other up, pumping us up,
That was like a super pivotal moment, I felt like. I just remember the first day we've created this network of people that put movement first.
Being like, oh yeah, I'll do this because it's a bunch of crazy people and this will be fun. Yeah. I've literally been live streaming my life and our political actions since 2016.
Yeah.
I've literally been movement first and accountable to social movements the entire time I've been running for office.
Right.
There's a lot of people in the Democratic caucus. When we are courageous enough to just puncture the silence on an issue, they will start to move.
We at Justice Democrats have a chance to really transform the Democratic Party. Running in competitive primary elections in Democratic held seats is important.
This administration, with the role of money in politics, with how our policy is being hijacked by the industries that profit from the despair of working people.
All hands on deck.
It's all hands on deck.
The House of Representatives is supposed to be the people's house. It's 435 people that are there to represent the needs and the will of the American people.
The only way that we're ever going to be able to change the structures of power in our highest levels of government is if we can get people like you that are closest to the community into the halls of power to talk about these big ideas. A Green New Deal, expanded and improved Medicare for all, ending poverty.
If you feel like, hey, why me? You know, I don't have the background experience, I've never held public office, and that's exactly why you should run.
So I showed you this because they organize themselves. And this is really, it hits home for me because I was a county chairman. This was my job on a county level, right, was to elect Republicans. And now what this group did, and they had lots of money. I didn't. I had to raise my money. But I'm sure that the Roy Nevilles of the world and the Soros of the world were pouring money into this situation. And everybody who likes socialists, the Democrat Socialists of America. I showed you all about them a couple of shows ago. But so they organized and they put out a casting call for members of Congress, for people who want to run for Congress. And they decided what the person looked like, acted like, sounded like, and whether or not they would be down with their agenda of the Green New Deal, of, trans, of all the things that, gay rights, all the things that were important to their social agenda. And it didn't matter if the person was educated or not. Didn't matter what the person knew about politics. As a matter of fact, they wanted outsiders. And I think that if we did not discuss what's in there right now, the problems with the Crockett's and the Rashida Tlaib's and the Ilhan Omars and all those, if we didn't know that those were put into place by Justice Democrats, I think it would sound pretty good to all of us, right? Especially if we consider ourselves independent. Hey, you know what? A regular person should be running for Congress, not a polished politician, right? I mean, we all want that, right? We want, term limits, especially, that's why I called out Janice here, especially the Convention of States. That's what they're looking to do. So I think that whatever movements we've got going on, Janice, like Convention of States, we've got to go further. We've got to get candidates that are going to push forward our agenda, because it's those agenda items, those social issues that are attracting people. And it can't be just right to life and, pro-life and right to life. It can't be. It's got to be more than that. People care about their economy. People care about facts and truth. And so I showed you that because we were all, remember we were talking about rigging elections? Well, they got Hollywood actors, basically. And they put them in Congress. She's so dumb, literally. But hi, Bob. Thanks. Yeah, Janice, you got to talk to them, Janice. They've got to do more. I mean, they've done a great job, but they've got to do more than just, focusing on the convention. They have to be pushing candidates that are going to carry that message of term limits, balanced budget, an open government, transparency. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to talk to you about tonight. Will we have parties in the future? Which one of our parties is going to emerge on top? Because if the media keeps calling MAGA far right, and we know just a small percentage of Republicans are considered far right, and they don't call out the fact that 2/3, 66% of Democrats identify as socialists, then the only way we're going to connect with voters is by paid media, right? That's the only way we're going to get this information out. Either paid media or people like you carrying the message. So, share this show. Talk about it. Justice Democrats is the website. You could get all these videos from there. Share them on your page. Let people see that they were taken for a ride. There was a casting call for thousands, and this was almost a 9-minute video. I cut it to 2 minutes, but there were thousands of respondents to their call for who wants to run for office. And like I said, most people would think that that's great, having regular people run for office. But regular people can be shaped, especially when they're being backed by hundreds of thousands of dollars, new clothes, hair, all that stuff. Yeah. So maybe you can have Silver Dreaming Wolf, our state director for conventions of states, on to talk about it. Yeah, maybe we could. We'll reach out in the future. Sometimes big screen and sometimes small screen. Me? Oh, interesting. Oh, you know what? They're glitching in StreamYard. Oh, so I better sit back. Thanks, Kevin, for telling me that. All right, as always, we're over. So I will see you tomorrow, and then it'll be Thanksgiving. So no show on Thursday. All right, see you all tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Thanks, everybody.